Have you ever imagined a life filled with such deep inner peace that nothing, absolutely nothing, can disturb your equilibrium? No criticism, not a single sideways glance, no harsh word, not the slightest mistake, not the faintest rejection. What if I told you that Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, discovered a secret capable of radically changing the way you perceive the world? A secret that allows you to stop reacting to everything around you and finally start living consciously with strength and inner freedom. Would you believe it? This is not just another video about self-control. This is a journey into the depths of your own soul. What you will discover here has nothing to do with ignoring your feelings or turning into an indifferent person. On the contrary, it's about learning to listen carefully to what is happening inside you with courage and compassion. It's about accessing the part of yourself that no one can reach, a place of inner silence where the world cannot enter without your permission. And perhaps for the first time, you will feel that your calm no longer depends on other people. Carl Jung often said that what we do not fight within ourselves eventually manifests outside as destiny. And what he meant goes far beyond a catchy phrase. He was talking about a deep, invisible, but incredibly powerful mechanism in our automatic tendency to react to the world without realizing that we are simply reflecting our own inner conflicts. Every time you feel hurt, it's like touching an unhealed wound. Every time something or someone irritates, rejects, or disappoints you, it's a painful reminder that parts of you still need healing. But why do some people seem untouchable? Why, while many of us crumble under criticism or failed plans, do others remain calm, unshakable, almost untouchable? Were they born this way? Are they pretending? Or have they discovered a path hidden from most? The answer lies within you, and perhaps you've heard this call before. A quiet unrest, the sense that something is off, but you can't put your finger on it. Unease in the midst of calm, an inner voice telling you, you don't have to react this way anymore. There is another way to live. This voice whispers when you catch yourself exploding over a trivial matter, when you feel you've lost control and then regret it. When someone says something and your mind spins for hours, rehashing it, crafting responses, trying to prove a point, that's a signal, an invitation. Most people live in the prison of their own reactions. They believe the world is to blame for how they feel. It made me feel this way. She upset me. This situation destroyed me. But Jung shows us that the true source of pain is not the other person. It's what the other person awakens inside us. No one can touch your soul without your permission. No one can steal your peace if it truly belongs to you. So why do we give so much power to the outside world? The truth is, we are conditioned from childhood. We learn that the world must approve of us, that we must be accepted, desired, understood that if something goes wrong, it's the boss's fault, the government's fault, our partner's fault, life's fault. Rarely are we taught to look within, to examine our pain, to ask ourselves why it affects us so deeply. And it is precisely the absence of these questions that keeps the wound open. Jung believed that everything that irritates us in others can lead us to profound self-knowledge. But who is ready for that? It's much easier to react, much more convenient to project. And so we continue to be puppets of circumstance, of others' moods, of the winds of chance. But what if you could cut the strings? What if there were a way to become the author of your own presence? Imagine a moment of conflict. Someone insults you. You feel heat rising through your body, your heart racing, anger gripping your chest. Now imagine that instead of reacting automatically, you simply breathe, observe, and feel the emotion arise, but you don't identify with it. You are not the anger. You are the one observing it. And by doing this, you break the cycle. You regain control, not over the other person, but over yourself. That this is not apathy. This is strength, the strength of awareness. Think about all the times you gave in to your emotions and later regretted it. How many arguments could have been avoided? How many poor decisions were made in moments of lost control? How many times have you missed the present, lost in thoughts about the past or trying to predict the future? Constantly reacting is exhausting. It drains you. It keeps you in a perpetual state of defense. Living like this is like walking barefoot through an emotional minefield. At any moment, something or someone can shatter your peace, but there is a secret: practice, truth. And here, Jung guides us along a profound path. Liberation is not about changing the world. It's about changing your relationship with it. When you learn to observe without identifying, to listen without absorbing, to feel without being consumed, the world remains the same, but you change, and that changes everything. Within you exists a point that is uncheckable, a quiet center that remains even when everything around you collapses. Finding it is like discovering a new dimension of existence, a dimension where you no longer need to be constantly on guard, because you know who you are, where you no longer seek respect, because you respect yourself, where the chaos of the world finds no resonance because harmony reigns within you. But this place is not given freely. It must be earned through practice, attention, and sincerity. And you may ask yourself, but where do I start? That is the right question, and the answer begins with the first step. Stop running from what troubles you. Look at your reactions not as mistakes, but as clues. Every time you get angry, hurt, or shut down, it's an invitation to healing. Something still needs to be understood, accepted. You don't need to get rid of your emotions. You just need to stop being their prisoner. Carl Jung did not want you to be cold. He wanted you to be whole. And being whole means accepting that inside you exists both light and shadow, mind and emotions, calm and storm. But you can learn to manage all of this without crashing. Over the next few minutes, you will understand how to reprogram your emotional responses, how to stop being a hostage of others, and how to cultivate a state of mind in which you finally become the master of yourself. This is not just psychological transformation, it is spiritual transformation. It is existential transformation. The question is, are you ready to stop reacting and start living? In the next chapter, we will explore why certain emotional triggers so easily set us off, and how they reveal hidden wounds that must be acknowledged urgently, because before you can free yourself from the world, you must first free yourself from yourself. There is a particular kind of pain that only those who feel it inside can truly understand. It does not show up on tests. It is difficult to express in words and rarely understood by outsiders. It is that feeling of anxiety that arises when everything seems fine, but something is subtly wrong. Work is going well, family life is stable, Life goes on, but inside there is a void no one sees, a fatigue that doesn't come from the body, a sensitivity that often feels like a burden. If you recognize yourself in this description, know that you are not alone. And more importantly, perhaps this pain is trying to show you something vital. You are living reactively, as if everything you feel is in the hands of the outside world. Carl Jung, in his profound study of the human soul, understood that what causes us pain is rarely only in the present. Our intense, disproportionate, painful reactions are often echoes of something more ancient. When you feel rejected because someone didn't reply to your messages, it may not be just about that person. It may be connected to a long-standing sense that you were never a priority, that you were ignored as a child, that you gave yourself and were unseen. When criticism breaks you, it may not be just the content of the words that hurts, but also a voice you've carried since childhood, whispering that you are not enough. We live in 2025, surrounded by stimuli, notifications, a constant stream of opinions. We are more connected than ever, yet more emotionally overwhelmed than ever. Many of us live with the sense that we're on the verge of collapse, not because the world is cruel, but because we've lost connection with our inner core. And this foundation, the one that should support us in difficult times, is cracking. That's why any harsh comment, any inattention, any frustration can break us. That's why Jung said, everything that irritates us in others can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. But it takes courage, because this path is neither beautiful nor comfortable. It is the path of the shadow which Jung described as the unconscious part of the psyche, where we store everything we deny in ourselves, is subtle. It hides in the details. It's in how you feel inadequate next to someone more confident. It's in the quiet envy you feel when you see someone doing what you gave up on out of fear. It's in the desire to control everything and everyone, because deep down, you're afraid of being abandoned. And the most dangerous part? Most of us try to ignore these reactions. We tell ourselves, I don't care. Everything's fine. I'm exaggerating. But when you ignore the shadow, it grows. It shows up as outbursts of anger, anxiety attacks, subtle self-sabotage, decisions made from fear rather than choice. How many times have you caught yourself doing something just to please others? How many times have you silenced your opinion to keep the peace? How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no and then suffered for it? These small betrayals against yourself drain your energy, your self-esteem, and most importantly, your ability to live authentically. Imagine a typical scene. You're home, exhausted after a long day. Your partner makes a remark about something you forgot to do. The criticism sounds sharp. You react, your voice rises, you justify yourself. Later, you feel bad, regretful. What happened wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a trigger. That comment may have activated an old feeling of unworthiness, a sense that you never measure up, that you always have to defend yourself. Now, imagine another scene. You're driving. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your blood boils, you snort, curse, fume for hours. Why? Because it triggered your sense of helplessness, unfairness, that people don't respect you. The situation itself is insignificant, but what it represents to you is enormous. The truth is, We react to the world not as it is, but as we are how we feel inside. Our perception is a filter, and until we clean that filter, we will continue interpreting everything through the lens of our pain. This is where the ability to listen to yourself becomes crucial, to stop and ask, why did this affect me so deeply? Instead of blaming others, use discomfort as a mirror. What is this discomfort trying to show me? Which part of me still hasn't been acknowledged? Which old story is repeating? This is daily work, quiet, deep, but it is the only path to stop living in constant reaction. And here is a truth that might shock you. The more you try to control what's outside, the less control you have over yourself. Because control is an illusion we use to hide fear, the fear of being hurt, the fear of not being loved, the fear of failing. Controlling the world is not the same as controlling yourself. And controlling yourself is not about suppression. It's about knowing, understanding, and honoring your wounds with respect. Have you ever noticed how some people never lose their composure? How they seem like rocks in the middle of a storm? They weren't born that way. They became that way through facing pain, diving into their shadow, through the willingness to know themselves from within. You can start with something very simple, but transformative. Observing your reactions, naming what you feel, exploring the roots, breathing before responding, bringing light to places that were once only dark. Jung said that until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will govern your life and you will call it fate. This means that if you don't learn to recognize the patterns that control you, you will continue living as a captive, repeating the same stories, experiencing the same pain, blaming the same people. But the moment you start becoming aware, something changes not outside, but inside. You begin to choose, to filter, to respond consciously, to protect your peace not with walls, but with clarity. And so if you feel ready to take this step, to break free from the cycle of reactivity and immerse yourself in a state of true presence, I invite you to explore the ebook, The Jung Method, 5 minutes a day for inner calm and clarity of mind. This is not just reading. It is a practical guide for applying Jung's teachings in everyday life in an accessible, transformative way. Daily exercises, space for reflection, an anchor for your mind in the emotional whirlwind. Perhaps in this quiet gesture, taking just 5 minutes for yourself, you will begin to change the course of your entire life. Have you ever wondered why? Even after so many years of living, some wounds still hurt as if they were freshly inflicted. Why, despite all the experience we've gained, we continue to react with anger, sadness, fear, almost like frightened children facing a world that seems not to understand us? The truth is, time passes, but some parts of us remain frozen in the past. And until these parts are seen, heard, and accepted, we will continue to repeat the same emotional patterns, even if we have gray hair, grown children, or a successful career. In fact, what holds us back is not the facts of life, but the meaning we attach to them. This seems simple, but if it were that obvious, why do we still get thrown off balance so easily by small things? A poorly chosen word, an unexpected pause, subtle criticism, not being invited. Such seemingly trivial things can destabilize us, and this reveals an important truth. The problem isn't what happens to us, it's what it reminds us of, the story behind our reaction. What if I told you that your greatest trigger could be your best teacher? There's a hidden trap in our behavior. We believe we react to the present, but in reality, unresolved emotional memories pull us backward. Long-standing feelings of abandonment, unprocessed humiliation, unrequited love. These experiences, if not addressed, continue to live inside us and emerge every time a current situation touches an old wound. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever reacted intensely only to ask yourself afterward, why did that affect me so much? If so, share it in the comments. Describing this experience can not only help you become aware of it, but also help others see themselves in the same. Jung said that all unprocessed pain becomes fate. This means that if you don't listen to what your pain is trying to tell you, it will find other ways to manifest in your relationships, in your choices, and what you fail to do. That's why you repeatedly attract the same types of people or fall into repeating cycles, even when you try to do everything differently. The subconscious draws attention. And what does the subconscious want? It wants to be seen. It wants you to stop running, to honestly look at what you feel, because only then will it stop acting from the shadows. Only then will it stop controlling your reactions behind the veil of the unconscious. But there's an even deeper point. The more you try not to feel, the more vulnerable you become. The more you suppress, the more you accumulate. And when it accumulates too much, any spark can start a fire. Have you noticed that the most controlling people are often the most emotionally vulnerable? They try to control the outside world because they cannot bear the chaos within. They need everything to go according to plan because they don't know how to cope with disappointment. They try to predict, anticipate, dominate, but all of this is a desperate attempt to protect a very sensitive part of themselves. Perhaps you know someone like this. Perhaps it's you. And here lies an interesting paradox. The more control you seek, the more you lose it. Because in trying to hold everything tightly, you suffocate life, spontaneity, ease, and flow, and inevitably, you begin to feel trapped, confined within your own defense mechanisms, trapped in anxiety, trapped in the illusion that you will only be safe when everything is in its place. But that right place never arrives, because true safety does not come from control, it comes from confidence. Confidence in what? Confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. Confidence that you have already survived far worse days, and that inside you resides a quiet yet uncheckable strength. Have you ever drawn on that strength in a moment when everything seemed to fall apart, but something pushed you to keep going? If you have, write in the comments, I have known my strength. Your story might touch someone today. Jung called this strength, this self, the deepest and most authentic core of being. It emerges when the ego can no longer cope, when masks fall away, when the character goes silent and the soul finally speaks. But to hear this inner voice, you must be still. And silence today is almost an act of resistance against the system. We live in an age of noise, notification noise, opinion noise, comparison noise. Everything pushes us outward. Little invites us inward. How many times a day do you actually pause to feel, to notice what is happening inside you right now? Most of the time, we do not feel. We react. We do not listen. We respond. And in doing so, we lose touch with what matters most with ourselves. There is a fatigue that does not come from work, but from lack of meaning, a sadness without a clear cause, born from disconnection from something greater. Irritation that arises not from others, but from our inability to truly communicate. And this pain accumulates until it becomes unbearable. But what if, instead of running from this pain, you pause for a moment and listen to it? This is an unusual and courageous invitation to sit with your own pain, not as a victim, not as a judge, but as an observer, as someone who says, I am here, and I want to hear you. What can arise from this encounter? Often, anger or sadness or resentment appears first, but behind all of it, there is almost always fear. Fear of not being loved, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being insufficient. This fear does not need to be eliminated. It needs to be acknowledged, faced, and seen. Because when you recognize your fears, they stop screaming, and you begin to move through life more easily. Interestingly, it is often at this moment that many people notice a profound change in their energy. Something shifts in their walk, in their gaze, in their speech. And others notice it and respond differently. Because when you align yourself with your truth, the world feels it. Have you ever noticed this? That when you are at peace with yourself, everything around you seems more harmonious? This is not magic, it is energetic alignment. Life responding to your inner state. So the focus should not be on changing others, but on changing your inner relationship with them. It is not about winning an argument. It is about walking away whole and unharmed. It is not about being right. It is about finding peace. It is not about appearing strong. It is about being real. And being real requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is perhaps the greatest act of courage in our time, because we live surrounded by masks. People smile but cry inside. They say everything is fine when they can barely sleep, playing the role of a perfect life while quietly drowning. But you no longer have to live that way. This video, this conversation, this moment, they are an invitation, a call to come home to yourself, closer to yourself. Do not wait for life to make you do it through loss, crisis, or collapse. You can choose this path consciously, not through pain. And if this content resonates with you, I want to ask something simple. Write in the comments a phrase that reflects what you're feeling right now. It doesn't have to be much, maybe just one word, a phrase, a fragment. Sometimes the simple act of writing is the first step out of autopilot. And by reading what others write, you realize you are not alone. This space was created for that purpose, for deep, sensitive, restless, melancholic souls like yours to have a place to land, a place to know themselves, a place to breathe. And if the world feels too noisy, too rushed, too superficial, perhaps it's because you are ready for something more true and more calm. Have you ever noticed moments when time seems to slow, not because of something beautiful, but because of something that pierces you? It could be a phrase spoken by someone close, a piercing glance, a simple "okay" in a message you were hoping would be warmer. Sometimes it's not the content, tone, or absence that hurts, but what it implies. And even when everything seems resolved, you keep thinking about it. Days go by, yet the feeling remains. Why? Because we react not only to what happens, but to what it touches within us. Carl Jung called this the activation of the shadow, the unconscious area where our unhealed wounds live. Our traumas masked as normalcy, our insecurities dressed up as pride, Every time something hits us too deeply, throws us off balance, or makes us feel small, it's because it touched a place that is still bleeding, even if no one sees it. And the most intriguing part? Most people try to respond with more control. They think they must be tougher, colder, more logical, that they need to protect themselves. But what they don't understand is that by protecting themselves, they also move away from their emotional truth. They become inaccessible, not only to others, but to themselves. Let's pause for a moment and consider a fact that may surprise you. According to the Global Emotions Report, conducted by Gallup, nearly 40% of the world's population reports high levels of daily emotional stress, even in countries considered developed. Even more interestingly, the countries with the highest emotional reactivity, the ones where people most frequently report anger, sadness, or anxiety, are not countries experiencing war or extreme crises. Often they are countries where people live under invisible pressure, high performance, competition, emotional isolation. In other words, what destroys us is not war, it's an internal war. A constant conflict between what we feel and what we think we should feel, between who we are and what the world expects from us. And this quiet, everyday friction erodes our life force like unnoticed erosion until the day collapse comes. But how did we get here? Think about the emotional upbringing you received. When you cried, you were told, "Don't cry." When you were angry, it was wrong. When you were afraid, it was nothing. The child learns that feeling is bad, that smiling is correct, even when bleeding inside, that value comes from outside. That recognition depends on who is looking. We grow up carrying this program. We enter relationships wanting unconditional love without having learned to love ourselves. We seek approval at work but avoid the mirror. And any gesture that threatens this fragile structure of the ideal self triggers an immediate response: defense, denial, anger, flight. Now I want to tell you a real story. In 2003, Canadian psychiatrist Gabor Mate published a book called When the Body Says No. In it, Mate presents cases of patients with serious illnesses, cancer, multiple sclerosis, lupus, and identifies a common pattern. All of them live their lives suppressing emotions, trying to please everyone, saying yes when they wanted to say no. And at some point, the body began to scream what the mind had silenced. It may seem extreme, perhaps, but it is no coincidence. Psychoneuroimmunology is science studying the connection between mind, emotions, and the immune system has already proven that suppressed emotional states directly affect our physical health. Moreover, people with higher emotional self-awareness recover more quickly from illnesses, live longer, and have stronger social connections. Now, think about how many emotions you've suppressed over the years. How many times you masked your pain with irony, sadness, productivity, loneliness, or distraction. It is at this moment that self-reflection becomes crucial, because every trigger that makes you explode or fall silent is a hint, an invitation, a window into something deeper. Imagine a person who grew up hearing that they are worthy of love only if they are perfect. This person becomes an adult and, without realizing it, embarks on an endless search for approval. Every criticism feels like an attack. Every mistake feels like shame. And worse, they demand perfection from others that they themselves cannot achieve. When someone disappoints them, the world collapses. When someone leaves, they fall apart because the love they receive never feels enough. And it can't be enough because the wound is inside, not outside. This story has a face, a name. It could be yours or the name of someone you love. But there is a way out. Jung said that no one is enlightened by imagining images of light, only by becoming aware of the darkness. This means that the path is not about always trying to be positive, but about facing the places where you are still at war with yourself. And this war often expresses itself in the rigidity with which you live. Have you noticed how some people need to control even the smallest details of daily life? The type of food, the order of the home, what others should say, what a partner should feel. Everything must be as they expect because deep down they fear unpredictability. But life is inherently uncertain, and those who haven't learned to dance with the unforeseen live in constant struggle with reality. Here is a truth that may feel uncomfortable. The more you try to shape the world into your ideal image, the more disappointment you experience. Life has its own logic, rhythm, and lessons. And every deviation from your expectations is an opportunity for growth, if you are willing to see it. If you are not ready, then blame, resentment, and comparison begin. You start thinking the problem is others, that the world is wrong, that life is unfair, and you enter a bitter cycle of judgment, guilt, and victimhood. And this is the turning point. At some moment, you will have to choose. Continue blaming the world or take internal responsibility. Continue reacting or start observing. Continue waiting for everything to change or change your relationship to it all. This is not a process that happens overnight, but it begins at a very specific moment, the moment you pause, breathe, and decide not to react automatically. This small space between stimulus and response, that is where freedom lives. It is here that you reinterpret yourself, create a new story, and choose to respond with emotional maturity rather than old wounds. You may now ask yourself, but how can I do this when everything in me demands a reaction? This is the most important question, and the answer begins with a quiet, intimate, and powerful step, acknowledging that the cry exists within you. Do not deny it, do not be ashamed of it, just see it. And when you begin to see, truly see what drives you from within, you are no longer completely at its mercy. You begin reclaiming your emotional autonomy. Gradually, situations that once threw you off balance lose their power. Insults lose their toxicity. Chaos loses its grip, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. And when this happens, something almost magical begins. You become a point of stillness in a noisy world, a center of balance amid instability, and others feel it, respect it. Some even worry because they can no longer manipulate you emotionally. But this is also part of the process. When you become whole, everything around you begins to rearrange itself. Perhaps now is the time to look within and ask yourself, which situations throw me off balance the easiest? Which patterns do I repeat, even though I promised myself I would not fall into them again? What pain do I still carry within me, masking it as strength? You don't need to have all the answers right now, but you do need to ask yourself the right questions. And if you wish, share in the comments the last time you noticed yourself reacting to something small as if it were huge. What triggered it? What feelings arose? The simple act of writing can open a space for healing, not only for you, but for everyone who reads it, because this is what we're doing here. We transform pain into awareness, wounds into wisdom, emotions into presence. And gradually we learn to move with ease, even when the road is hard. Have you ever considered that the greatest power someone can have over you is the one you gave them yourself? You might not have realized it. It may have happened gradually in the name of love, acceptance, coexistence. Silence here, suppressed desire there, swallowed anger. And when you become aware of this, your life starts revolving around another person, their opinions, their mood, their gestures. You stop being the center and become a reflection. But here is the truth. No one can steal your peace, only you can relinquish it. What you've seen so far in this video isn't just about emotions. It's about inner sovereignty, returning to the center of yourself, learning how to stop being influenced by circumstances and start shaping yourself from within. Jung said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to do with what happens to us." But how often in life do we react automatically, defensively, impulsively, and most curiously, even knowing we will regret it? We repeat it because impulse is stronger than awareness. This brings us to the key point of everything we are discussing. Transformation does not start with emotions. It starts in the pause between the emotion and the reaction. It is in this brief interval that the full power of human freedom resides. And this pause is not just silence, it is clarity of mind. It is the choice not to be a slave to past memories, old wounds, inherited patterns. It is the courage to break the cycle. But how do you create this pause? The answer is simple, yet not easy. Train your brain to notice before reacting. And this requires practice, consistency, and intention. Because the brain, by default, seeks the path of least resistance. It prefers to repeat the familiar, even if it hurts, rather than risk the new. This is why you still argue with the same people, feel disappointed by the same situations. You enter emotional cycles that seem endless. You are literally driven by a neural network programmed to react, not to reflect. But here is the good news. The brain can be reprogrammed. Neuroscience has already shown that brain plasticity allows for real and profound changes in how we feel and respond to the world. When you start forming new mental habits like naming your emotions, breathing before acting, questioning your automatic thoughts, you literally begin creating new neural connections. Over time, what was once a reactive pattern becomes a conscious choice. Let's think together about what triggers you. What makes you disconnect from the person you want to be? Perhaps it is a feeling of rejection, injustice, or being unheard. Now try to recall the last time this happened. How did you react? Did you yell, fall silent, walk away, attack? Now ask yourself, what would have happened if in that moment you had taken 5 deep breaths before responding? 5 seconds. That's all it takes to separate an impulsive act from a conscious choice, an outburst from a healthy boundary, a relapse from overcoming. The reactive mind is like a wild horse, but consciousness is the rider. When the rider is present, the horse learns to trust. It slows, submits, and finds direction. But when the rider is absent, the horse runs freely and can take you to dark places. If everything you've read so far resonates with your pain, your triggers, your experience, breathe. You are not broken. You are simply programmed to survive, not to connect. Most of us are this way. We were taught to defend, hide, and mask ourselves. But this time is running out, because overprotection also suffocates, and hiding too much also makes us sick. How many times have you thought, I just want to be at peace? It's not difficult. It's not a mansion or a state, it's simply peace. That quiet feeling inside where everything is okay, where you can breathe without hurry, where you don't need to prove anything to anyone. But true peace doesn't come from the absence of conflict. It comes from awareness. And awareness is born from practice, from attention to the small moments. When you get out of bed and notice your first thought of the day. When you look at someone and ask yourself, what are you projecting? When you feel anger and before exploding you ask, what lies behind this? You begin to understand that behind anger there is almost always sadness. Behind sadness almost always fear, and behind fear almost always a plea for love. Then you begin to see that the other person is doing the same, reacting to their own pain, repeating what they learned, trying to protect themselves, and something very powerful happens. You stop taking everything personally. You stop internalizing everything. And when you stop taking everything personally, a vast space opens within you, a space for empathy, for clarity, for choice, and finally for peace. In that moment, you become a rare phenomenon, someone who listens without losing themselves, who feels without drowning, who holds a position without aggression, who loves without destroying themselves. You become the person who doesn't react, they respond. And there is a huge difference between reaction and response. A reaction is automatic, primitive, survival. A response is conscious, human, spiritual. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds beautiful, but my reality is harsh. My days are full. My emotions are intense. I don't know if I can do this. I understand. Change doesn't begin with something grand. It begins with the little things, the tiny details, the subtle acts of attention. A second of extra silence, a thought you question before believing it, a feeling you acknowledge instead of suppressing, saying no when everything inside you has learned to say yes. Over time, this becomes your ordinary state, not a desperate attempt to control everything. So now I want to make you a very special offer. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you wants change, not superficial change, but true transformation. The kind that begins from within and radiates outward. In the next part of this video, I will present a practical, deep, and structured step-by-step plan, which will allow you to easily apply all the knowledge we've explored so far. This will not be theory. It will be a concrete plan you can implement in your daily life to achieve the emotional freedom Jung believed in. You don't need to change your whole life at once, but you need to start somewhere. And this moment can be that start. What would you do if you knew that the key to your emotional freedom had always been in your hands, but you spent your whole life looking for it in the wrong place? It's a difficult question, not because it has no answer, but because answering it requires courage. The courage to acknowledge that much of what you've experienced and suffered wasn't just caused by the outside world, it was also reinforced by internal patterns that were never questioned. And when you finally ask yourself this question, something changes forever. You came here for a reason. Something inside you is tired of reacting, of losing balance, of feeling trapped by circumstances. You want something different. You want ease. You want truth. You want to be someone who can breathe steadily and stand firm even in chaos. And this is possible with practice, with intention, with presence. What I am about to share is not a magic formula. It is a strategic, emotional, and profound plan designed to guide you through the transformation process. Begins from within. It's not about controlling yourself. It's about understanding yourself, stepping out of reactivity, entering a state of emotional awareness, and building a new way of inhabiting your inner world so that the outer world no longer has the power to break you so easily. Step 1. Daily awareness, inner inventory set. Aside 5 to 10 minutes each day for a simple exercise. Write down or reflect on 3 moments during the day when you experienced emotional discomfort. These could be minor irritations, judgments, or disappointments. Don't rationalize, just observe what happened, what you felt, and where in your body you felt it. What was your first reaction? To withdraw, attack, or stay silent? This exercise develops your emotional awareness muscle. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. At first, your eyes may water, but over time you begin to see clearly, and clarity is the first step toward freedom. Step 2. The space between stimulus and response. Next time you feel anger, hurt, anxiety, or the urge to react impulsively, pause. Literally take a deep breath, count to 5, notice your body, and observe what's happening in the moment. This sacred interval is where self-control begins. Even a tiny pause becomes an entryway to a new future. Over time, you'll notice this interval naturally lengthens, and you'll become someone who responds rather than reacts. Step 3. Transform anger into a request. Anger is a valid emotion, but it almost always hides an unmet need or unexpressed fear. When it arises, ask yourself, what did I want but didn't get? What was I missing? Respond with a short phrase such as, I wanted to be heard. I wanted more attention. I was afraid I wouldn't be respected. This doesn't eliminate anger, but it transforms it. And in transformation, wisdom emerges. Step 4. Disidentification. You are not your emotion, you are the space that holds it. Once a day, preferably in the evening, practice the silent witness technique. Sit quietly with your eyes closed. Observe your thoughts and emotions as a spectator. Don't try to change anything. Just watch. When something arises, say to yourself, this is passing through me, but it is not me. Do this for 5 minutes. Over time, this exercise cultivates a new relationship with your inner world, more loving, stable, and clear. Step 5. Conscious conversations. Bring this new state into your relationships. Next time you face a challenging conversation, begin with, I want to understand what's happening inside me before reacting to you. Name your feelings and show vulnerability. I felt small when you said that. I felt overlooked when you didn't respond. Vulnerability disarms. It brings truth. It builds bridges. If the other person doesn't know how to handle it, that's okay. This practice is about you and the person you want to be, not about controlling someone else's behavior. Step 6. Cultivate presence. Choose a daily activity that reconnects you with your body and breath. This could be a quiet walk, mindful showering, guided breathing, or intuitive journaling. During the practice, repeat, I am returning to myself. This strengthens focus, grounds you, and reminds you that the goal isn't to avoid triggers, it's to remove their power over you. Step 7. Weekly review. Pick one day a week for an emotional check-in. Take paper and pen and answer, when did I lose balance this week? How could I have acted differently? What did I learn about myself? What still causes pain and needs attention? This ritual transforms experience into wisdom, and wisdom turns chaos into direction. By consistently practicing these steps, even imperfectly, you will notice profound shifts in your life. The person who once triggered you will hold less power. Situations that once upset you will now bring clarity. You will inspire others, not by being perfect, but by being whole. And if at any point you want a simple, structured resource to support this process, there is the Jung Method ebook, 5 minutes a day for inner peace and mental clarity. More than reading, it's a pathway. This is a direct daily guide that will help you cultivate the seeds of everything you have seen in this video in just 5 minutes a day, thanks to accessible practices based on Jung's philosophy. This method can become the missing step you needed to make your process easier, more consistent, and transformative. If this video resonated with you, give it a like. Share in the comments what impressed you the most, what challenges you, or say whatever you want. Here we meet, greet each other, and awaken. You are not alone. We are together.